Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of the Allison Baden Clay case. If you missed part 1, I will link it below and put it up on the screen. Otherwise, this portion will make no sense. So let's get into part 2. The next day on May the 1st, it is confirmed to be the body of Allison Baden Clay. That same day, Gerard Baden Clay lodged a claim on his wife's insurance policy. It was thought the body, which was severely decomposed and unidentifiable from looks alone, had been there 11 days and Allison had still been wearing her wedding ring. Police announced that the Allison Baden Clay case was now a murder investigation, and in fact they had been looking into this case as an unlawful homicide for some time by this point. The media had, for the most part, treated Allison's case as a missing persons case pretty much up until they found her body. Gerard Baden Clay stated that he was devastated by his wife's death. He released a statement through his lawyer stating that his main priority now was to take care of his 3 daughters. He said he'd like to give his daughters some normality and stability despite the media barrage. Allison's funeral is held on May the 11th in Ipswich, and over 700 mourners turn out to remember Allison, including Gerard and their 3 daughters. Autopsy and toxicology reports are received by detectives not too long after Allison's body was found. However, these results are not released to the public. So Allison's full autopsy report is actually available online for those wanting to deep dive into this case. I did read over it myself. It's quite graphic, just giving you a warning. Detectives state they are confident that Allison knew her killer, and also during this time, police take Gerard in for an informal interview at the police station, which lasts for several hours. Gerard maintains his original story. 8 weeks after Allison Baden Clay's disappearance on June the 13th, Gerard Baden Clay is remanded in custody and formally interviewed by police. Following this interview, Gerard Baden Clay is charged with the murder of his wife Allison and charged with interfering with a corpse. The news shocks the community and makes headlines across Australia. Gerard maintains his innocence and states he will be strenuously defending the charges. So on June the 22nd, Gerard applies for bail, but he is denied because he is considered a flight risk. Again, on December 14, Gerard's defense lawyer lodges a bail application with the Supreme Court. His lawyer argues that the federal prosecution's case has been weakened by the post-mortem results. So the post-mortem results revealed there was traces of an antidepressant drug in Allison's system, leaving open the possibility that Allison Baden Clay took her own life. This bail application was again rejected. On March 11th of 2013, the committal hearing begins. It is argued that Gerard Baden Clay had a financial motive for murdering his wife. It is ordered that nearly $800,000 from 2 life insurances of Allison's be withheld from Gerard until he faces trial. It's also claimed that Gerard Baden Clay murdered his wife Allison to get her out the way and be with his mistress Tony McHugh. Allison actually wrote in her diary about her husband's affair with Tony, as well as their marriage troubles. So I will read you part of one of Allison's diary entries where she does touch on her relationship. This is from the 8th of the 12th, 2010, and is titled Defining the Problem, Relationship Rescue. So she has 8 points visible on this page. So 1 is, I tend to deny most things. 2, I am happiest when I am loved. 3, sometimes I am lazy. 4, what makes me angry is I don't get my way. 5, I wish my husband loved me like he did before we were married. 6, I hate it when my husband treats me like shit. 7. When I get angry, I go into my cave and hide. 8. I would give anything if my partner would love me and make love to me. A forensic examiner was also brought in to discuss the injuries on Gerard's face. The examiner stated he believed that the injuries were caused by fingernails and not by a shaver, as Gerard has stated to the police. Allison's friend, Kerry Ann Walker, is the first of 40 witnesses to testify. Queensland MP Dr. Bruce Flegg was also amongst these witnesses. He claims that the night that Allison went missing, he heard screams, but he did not report it to police as he did not believe it was a criminal matter. Toni McHugh, Gerard's former mistress, was also another witness. Toni stated that Gerard told her to lay low after his wife Allison disappeared. Gerard also told Toni that he could not afford a divorce. It was also revealed at the hearing that Gerard was under significant financial pressure. 2 former real estate partners of Gerard Baden Clay, who found out about his affair, told him to either leave his wife or leave his mistress, or they would lose their business associations. Neighbours from the alleged crime scenes, the Baden Clay home and the creek where Allison was found, reported hearing screams, arguing, a thud, and tyres screeching the night before Allison was reported missing. Witness Fiona White said she heard 2 loud screams coming from the creek as if someone was falling from a cliff. Gerard Baden Clay pleaded not guilty and was ordered to stand trial in the Supreme Court. Olivia, Gerard's sister, stood by her brother's side the whole time, making a statement outside of the court to the media saying, "Gerard is an innocent man and I am here because I continue to support him." On February the 3rd, 2014, at the retrial hearing, an email that was sent from Gerard Baden Clay to his mistress, Toni McHugh, is revealed. It was sent on April the 1st, 2012, from his alias Bruce Overland. The email stated, "I have given you a commitment and I intend to stick to it. I will be separated by 1st July. It also stated, "Things are agony for me too. Leave it to me now. I love you." So after 1,500 lines of inquiry, 500 witness statements, and 2 years since Allison's murder, the trial finally begins at the Brisbane Supreme Court on June the 10th, 2014. It is a trial by jury and Gerard Baden Clay pleads not guilty to the charges. On the first day of trial, the jury is shown graphic photos of Allison's deceased body. The photos show a long-haired woman lying on her side with her arms splayed, dressed in what appears to be exercise gear. The body was swollen and in the advanced stages of decay due to the elements. Her jumper was inside out and pulled over her head as though she had been dragged. It was revealed during the trial that the post-mortem examination could not identify Allison's cause of death due to the decomposition of her body. However, it was not believed she died from natural causes. It was thought the jumper may have been used to strangle Allison. There was also 3 injuries on Allison's body that could have been the result of blunt force trauma, but this could not be 100% confirmed. The only visible fractures on Allison's body were a chipped tooth and bruising. So the injuries on Gerard Baden Clay's body were explained by his team in some way, shape or form during the trial. So as Gerard originally stated, they claimed the facial injuries were from shaving. They claimed that a mark on his neck was from when Gerard smacked a caterpillar that had landed on him, and he had injured his hand while helping a friend with renovations the day before Allison went missing. The irritated marks on Gerard's chest, however, could not be explained. A razor was even examined during the court proceedings to determine whether or not a razor could have possibly caused the injuries on Gerard Baden Clay's face. DNA testing presented in the court confirmed that blood found in the boot of Allison's four-wheel drive and on the door of her car were in fact Allison's blood. Plant samples from Allison's body, particularly her hair, matched plant examples from the Baden Clay household. So these pieces of evidence demonstrated to the court that it was possible or likely that Allison had been hurt in her own home and then transported in her own car to Colo Creek. The defense, however, portrayed Allison as a woman struggling with depression and the pressures of life, and this is what forced her to take her own life. This was disputed by a GP, 2 psychologists, and a psychiatrist, all that had treated Allison, that all said she was not a suicide risk. The court also heard from Gerard Baden Clay's former secretary, who stated that Gerard had made her clear out any evidence of Tony McHugh in the office before Allison had started working there. The jury also heard recordings of Allison's daughters during police interviews on the day she disappeared. The youngest daughter stated, "Mummy went off for a walk, I think. We think she twisted her ankle." Gerard Baden Clay wept upon hearing his daughter's voices. When Gerard Baden Clay took the stand, he told them that he wanted his family to stay together forever, but strayed because he just wanted sex. Defense counsel Michael Byrne closed the case by stating that there were too many gaps in the prosecution's case to convict Gerard Baden Clay of murder. And just as a bit of a side note, it has been claimed since the trial's verdict by Allison's cousin that Gerard controlled every aspect of her life, going as far as to use baby monitors to spy on his wife, which would explain the baby monitors I mentioned in the master bedroom at the beginning of this video. Her cousin Jody Dan said Gerard would not let her have control over her own finances, regularly insulted her appearance, and was involved in several other affairs. Jody stated, "Allison was controlled in every aspect of her life. He wouldn't let her have bank cards and would only give her bits of cash to spend. He was always at her about getting fat. She felt worthless and she was taunted by his infidelities." The trial ended up lasting 6 weeks, and on July the 15th, a verdict of guilty was read out. Gerard Baden Clay was found guilty of murdering his wife, Allison Baden Clay, and of disposing of her body. In sentencing, Justice John Byrne stated, "Allison's death was not premeditated, but it was violent. The prosecution has suggested you smothered Allison, and that looks likely. But whatever your mechanism, your violent attack caused her death. Your shameful conduct after murdering Allison bespeaks a profound absence of remorse." The case against Gerard Baden Clay was, for the most part, circumstantial, but despite this, he was sentenced to life in jail with a minimum non-parole period of 15 years. Outside of the courtroom, when the guilty verdict was read out, Allison's friends and family released yellow balloons, yellow being Allison's favourite colour in her memory. However, this was not the end of things for Allison's family or for Gerard. The following year, on August 7, 2015, Gerard Baden Clay appeals his conviction, claiming he is a victim of miscarriage of justice. His legal team argues that his conviction should be overturned because Gerard may have accidentally killed his wife Allison during an argument about his mistress and in a panic covered up the body. On December the 8th, the Queensland Court of Appeals makes the incredibly controversial decision to downgrade Gerard's conviction of murder to manslaughter. The main difference being the amount of years which Gerard would be serving, manslaughter being less years, of course, than murder. They felt it had not been proved in court that Gerard Baden Clay had intentionally killed his wife. But the following year, in 2016, things would change again. In an unusual move, the Queensland Director of Public Prosecution appealed against the downgrade. On August 31, 2016, the High Court reinstated Gerard Baden Clay's murder conviction. So this case is now closed indefinitely, and Gerard has no further avenue of appeal, which means he'll be serving out his life sentence with a minimum non-parole period of the 15 years. So Allison's father was appointed executor of her estate, and it was ruled that Gerard would not benefit at all from his wife's death. So it's been reported that Gerard is somewhat of a model prisoner. He is polite, quiet, and keeps to himself. He has a job in jail which allows him to buy things like extra toiletries, and if his good behaviour continues, he could be moved to a better living situation. It is said that Gerard still wears his wedding ring and has photos of himself and Allison, including photos of their wedding day, pinned to the board in his cell. And from what I understand, his 3 daughters have no contact with their father. So since their daughter's murder, Allison's parents, Jeff and Priscilla Dickey, have since spoken about the abuse that their daughter was subjected to during her marriage, and they stated they wish they had done more to help her escape this controlling marriage. They said that months before the murder, their daughter was slowly cut off from them. They said that Gerard deleted their number off Allison's phone, that their phone number was blocked from their landline, and their daughter Allison told them that their landline was just broken. They said she also became more and more isolated from her friends and family leading up to her murder. Priscilla said when she tried to raise concerns, her son-in-law told her to butt out. Priscilla stated, "I think she was frightened of him. He was a very dominating man. He ruled the roost regardless." They feared that if they interfered, that Gerard may potentially hurt Allison or the girls. And they feel that by sharing their story, that maybe they can help someone in a similar situation speak up or escape. On July 31st, 2015, the Allison Baden Clay Foundation was launched. It aims to create a community in Queensland that is aware of domestic and family violence. And I will link the website below to this foundation if you are interested. And I'm going to end this portion of the video by saying that if you or someone you know are in a similar situation to Allison, there is help out there, and I'm going to leave the numbers to domestic violence hotlines in Australia, the US and the UK on the screen now and down below. Thank you so much for listening to Allison's story. If you found it interesting, like, comment, subscribe and share. Have an amazing day, guys, and stay safe.